Hello learners, I Dr. Niradhar De, faculty member, School of Education, Indira Gandhi National Open University. Welcome you all to this video lesson. Today we are going to discuss one of the very important topic, that is mean and its uses. What is the concept of mean and how we compute mean, and what is the uses of mean so far as teaching learning process is concerned and school based assessment process is concerned. Let us go forward to understand about the concept and its use of the mean. For your information, presently we are in the 13th week of your online course. Course code is BES 127 and course title is Assessment for Learning, and we are presently studying the 13th module of your online course. The title of the module is Measures of Central Tendency. Under this module, Measures of Central Tendency, you will find three different video lessons. First is mean and its uses. Today we are going to discuss mean and its uses, and the second lesson that is median and its uses, further we will discuss, and the third video lesson is mode and its uses. So friends, so far as measures of central tendency is concerned, our focus is upon three different methods and techniques of calculating measures of central tendency. One is the mean, other is the median, and the third is the mode. And today we will be focusing upon the first measures of central tendency, that is mean. Friends, before our discussion, let me to focus upon the learning outcomes. After going through this video lesson and the part E content which is included in 13th module, you will be able to explain the concept of measures of central tendency. Further, you will be able to compute mean from ungrouped and grouped data and to interpret it also. Then you will be able to compute and interpret the combined mean. What is the concept of combined mean and how to calculate, how to compute combined mean, and how to use combined mean in teaching learning process, in assessment, in school based learner assessment, that also we will discuss. And further, another learning outcome is, after going through this video lesson and the party content, you will be able to discuss the use of mean in school based assessment. Now let us go forward to understand about the very concept of measures of central tendency. Shortly we can say that it is MCT, measures of central tendency. The most common statistics that we use in school is the measures of central tendency, and that we use for analyzing and interpreting scores of the students. So friends, as a teacher, what you are doing, you are teaching to the students, and you are also administering, developing many tests and administering that test to know the progress of the learner, to know the mastery level of the learner, to know whether the instructional objectives and the learning outcomes that decided first, whether these outcomes and instructional objectives are achieved or not. So that's why what you are doing, you are just analyzing the result of the students, the scores of the students. Many a time you are getting the individual score and you are converting those individual scores into group scores by using suitable statistics. So here we are just going to discuss the first important statistics for analyzing students' scores, students' performance, that is measures of central tendency. So how to calculate the central value, how to calculate the central tendency to give certain more meaning to the individual score, to interpret the result of the students. Then further we can say that measures of central tendency is the central value of the group. So if I will ask you, what is the central tendency or central value of the students to whom you are teaching so far as the subject mathematics is concerned, so far as the subject English literature is concerned, so far as the subject social science or science are concerned. So what you can do, you can just simply use the statistical techniques of measures of central tendency then you can just analyze and interpret and find out the central value of the group. And after getting the central value of the group, further you can also compare it with the individual scores. Central value helps to compare individual score with the group score and group score with other group scores. So many a time what you can do, you can compare one individual score with the group score. Group score is called as the central value. It may be mean, it may be median, or it may be mode. And further, as an example, you have already calculated the mean of one group. So what you can do, you can just compare the mean of one group of students with the mean scores of other groups. In a class many sections are there, you can compare the mean score of section A with section B. It means from one group with the other groups. Then you can also compare it with section A to B, B to C, A to C, A to D. So accordingly you can do it. And overall, the central value or the central tendency you can also calculate irrespective of their sections. And we use MCT for making intra and intergroup comparisons. Try to understand. You are teaching in a class, so you can compare the result of the students within your class to whom you are teaching and among the groups also in your school and beyond your school also. So that you can do. So far as the scales of measurement are concerned, so far as in measures of central tendency, for computing measures of central tendency, which scales we use. So friends, I have already discussed in my earlier video lessons, we have 4 types of scale, that the nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale and ratio scale. But here, so far as your measures of central tendency statistics is concerned, 3 different scale can be used. First is data on. If the data is a nominal scale, what you can do, you can simply use mode as a measures of central tendency. Okay, this can be used because you have the data only in numbers. You have just classified the data in terms of habitation, in terms of just like rural and urban, just like boys and girls, just like government school students and private school students. So if your data is like this, then simply you can calculate a mode. You cannot calculate the median or the mean. And for the mode is to define mode, further we will discuss in another video lesson. Mode is the most frequent item or the score of the series, means the item which comes most frequently, we can say that is the mode. And mode is used as a measure of central tendency only in the nominal scale is concerned. And so far as ordinal scale is concerned, we can say that median as a measure of central tendency can be used, because here we are getting score not only in number, rather we are also able to order it either ascending or descending. Okay, so that's why when we are able to order the score, then we can calculate median, because median is a point below and above which 50% of the cases lie. It means median is not simply a score, median is a point, and that point is based upon the frequencies. Let the total frequencies are 50, so you will find a point in the group in which above and below 50% of the cases lie. It means above 25% cases, that means if total score is 50, above the median point 25 scores will be there, and below the median score median point 25 scores will be there. So that's why it is rightly fit with the ordinal scale. And when we talk about equal interval scale or the interval scale, where we can interpret the data in terms of equal intervals. Okay, just like 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 25. So these are certain class intervals, and we can say that these class intervals are equal class intervals. So if your data is possible to interpret and analyze in equal class intervals, then you can use mean as a measure of central tendency. Okay, the statistics of mean can be used, because mean is the most accurate measure of central tendency, as it includes each and every individual scores of the group. Okay, so you can only do or prepare the equal interval scale when you know each and every individual score, and you have to find out the range of the score, then you have to decide the size of the class, then further you can prepare the class intervals. Let us go forward. So far as the commonly used measures of central tendency is concerned, we can use three statistics just like mean, median and mode. These three statistics are come under the measures of central tendency, and already we have discussed that where to use mean, where to use median and where to use mode. And we have also discussed that mean is used in what scale, that is the you can say interval scale, median is used in the ordinal scale and mode is used in the nominal scale, that I have already discussed. Let us go forward to understand about the concept of mean and how to compute mean. Mean is the most accurate measures of central tendency because each and every individual score is given equal weightage for calculating the mean. Let in a group 10, the scores of 10 students are there. So what you can do, you just add the scores of 10 students and you have to divide it by their total number. So here total number is 10. So here the score of the first student, the score of the second student, the score of the third student, every score is having equal weightage. You cannot just take it out a single score. Okay, so that's why mean is calculated when the data is presented or have this the scope to present it in the interval scale, I have already said. And mean can be calculated by adding sum of the observations by dividing it with the total number of the cases. So you have to add all the observations, you have to add all the scores and you have to divide it with their total number. So total frequencies. Each and every individual scores are given equal weightage in calculating mean. I have already said that if you do not know the score of a single student, then you cannot calculate mean. So that's why every score is having equal importance, equal weightage for calculating mean as a measures of central tendency. For the calculation of mean for ungrouped data, so how to calculate mean in ungrouped data? Okay, so try to understand. I think you all have understood better what is ungrouped data, what is raw data and what is a group data. Ungrouped data means when the data is given raw form or when only individual scores are given. That means the score of student A, student B, student C is given and you do not know about the entire score of the group. Okay, so how to use mean when individual score is there? When data is presented in individual scores, mean can be calculated by adding all the raw scores and dividing it by the total number of the raw score or total number of the frequencies. Here you see the formula of mean is m is equal to summation of x upon n. Okay, so this sign, this is the summation of sign, means you have to add all the individual scores. X is the individual score and n is the total number of cases. Okay, so this is the simple formula. It's very easy to understand. Let us go forward to calculate mean by using an example. Just like here, example of calculation of mean. Here you see individual scores are there, total 10 individual scores are there, 15, 37, 22, 11, 40, accordingly, and the last score is 30. And how you will calculate? These individual scores are called as x. It means x1 is 15, x2 is 37, x3 is 22, accordingly. So mean is summation of x upon n. So here how you will calculate? Here you see I have just added all the 10 scores, okay, 15 plus 37 plus 22, then I have divided it by 10. So here if I will add all these individual scores, it is 281, and if I will divide it by the total number, that is 10, 281 divided by 10 is 28.1. So here 28.1 is the mean score of this group. Then after getting this mean score, what you can do? You can just compare mean score with any individual score, 15 with 28.1. It means you can say that the student who had scored 15 is a below average student. 37 with 28.1, the student who has secured 37 is an above average student. So, accordingly, you can compare individual score with the group scores. Further, now let us understand that in ungrouped data, when score is given and frequencies are also given. That means many students when scored a single score. So, how to calculate? So, calculation of mean when scores and frequencies are given. In earlier case, only single scores were given, but here scores are given, with the scores certain frequencies are given. So, the formula that we can use, that is m is equal to, mean is equal to summation of fx upon n. Here summation of fx is summation of frequencies multiplied with the score, with the individual score. So, you have to multiply frequency with the individual score. Then after multiplying each frequency with each individual score, you have to add it. Then you have to divide it by the total number of the frequencies, total frequencies. Now let us try to understand with an example. So here you see scores are there, scores are given, 10 scores are there, that is the individual score x, 25, 31, 33 accordingly. And here in the second row, here you see frequencies are given, okay. So here the frequencies are just like here 3, 7, 9, that means 25 score comes thrice, 31 score comes 7th time, 33 score comes 9th time, accordingly these are the frequencies. So how to calculate it? Here you see I have just put it in a table for better understanding. Here you see these are the individual scores and these are the frequencies. So what you have to do as per our formula, you have to multiply individual score with the frequencies, that's fx. So here 25 into 3 is 75, 31 into 7 is 217, 33 into 9 is 297, then accordingly you have to calculate all fx, f into x. So I have already calculated. Then total number of frequencies are here, n is 60, I have just added the frequencies. Then I have now sum of frequency into individual scores, sum of f into x, summation of f into x, it is 2583, you can just calculate it. Here you see, then we can use the formula is m is summation of fx upon n. Summation of fx already we have calculated in our earlier table, that is 2583, and total number of cases is 60. So 2583 divided by 60 is 43.05. So here mean in ungrouped data when frequencies are given, here mean is 43.05. So after getting mean, you can calculate it with, you can compare it with the individual score. Next, further let us try to understand calculation of mean when data is given in class intervals with frequencies. So here data is given not in raw score, but it is in the class interval, okay, equal class intervals, and frequencies are also given. And this method is called as the long method. So how to use the long method? You see the formula is m is equal to the same formula, summation of fx upon n. Here x is midpoint of the class interval. Next we will discuss that how to calculate the midpoint of the class interval. F is the frequencies and n is total number of the cases. Okay, so that is summation of f. Let us go forward. Here you see I have taken one example. Here the scores are represented in certain class intervals like 40 to 44, 35 to 39, 30 to 35. The size of the class is here 5, and frequencies, that means between 40 to 44 3 frequencies, 35 to 39 5 frequencies. Accordingly frequencies are given in the second column. In the third column, the first step is find out the midpoint. So how to find out the midpoint? You have to add the lower limit of the class with the upper limit of every class. Then you have to divided it by 2. That means 40 plus 44 is 88, divided by 84 divided by 2 is 44. Then 35 plus 39 divided by 2, that is 37. Accordingly, midpoints of every class has been calculated here. Then further the next step is f into x. You have to multiply frequency with the midpoint. That means 3 into 42 is 126, 5 into 37 is 185, then accordingly. Then here summation of fx is 1335 and total number of cases is here 50. Then further what you will do, you have to just use the formula. Formula is m is equal to summation of fx by n. Summation of fx already we have calculated, that is 1335 divided by 50. So now it is 26.7. So 26.7 is the mean of group data, okay, when data is given in class intervals with frequency. Then further another important method that we will discuss, that is the assumed mean method. Okay, so how to calculate, this is also called as sort method, how to calculate mean when data is given in class interval orders and by using the assumed mean method or by using the sort method. Earlier that's called as the long method. In group data, when the data is presented in class intervals with frequencies, we can calculate mean by using long method as well as assumed mean or sort method. Long method we have already discussed in our earlier example, and now we will discuss about the assumed mean or the sort method. In assumed mean method, we assume a class, assuming that the mean lies in that class. So first of all, you have to assume a class with certain base, and you have to find out, you have to calculate that your mean will be in that assumed mean class. By assuming a class, you have to reach at the mean. So let us go forward. Here you see, this is the formula that we can use for calculating mean by using the assumed mean method. M is equal to AM. AM is the assumed mean plus summation of FD, summation of frequency into deviations, divided by n. N is the total number of the cases into Ci. C is the class interval. So AM is assumed mean, F is frequency, D is deviation from the assumed mean. I will tell you further that how you will calculate deviation. Then N is total number of the frequencies and Ci is the size of the class interval. Now let us go forward to understand that what are the different steps that we can follow for calculating mean by using assumed mean method. Step 1 is calculation of assumed mean. Assumed mean is generally the midpoint of the class having highest frequency. So assumed mean is you have the class intervals, you have to find out which class interval is having highest frequency. It means you have to assume that the mean is in that class in which highest frequencies are there. So that's why that will be your assumed mean. You have to find out the midpoint of that class. Then step 2 is calculate the midpoint of the class. So how to calculate? Lower limit of the class plus higher limit of that assumed class divided by 2. Okay, you have to find out the midpoint of the assumed class. And in the step 3, calculation of deviation, that's called as D. So D or deviation is midpoint of the class minus assumed mean divided by size of the class. So here size of the class is 5 so far as our example is concerned. Then step 4, find out multiplications of frequency and corresponding deviation and place the obtained value in the column headed by F into D. We will discuss it further. And step 5, find the sum of the column, that is summation of FD. Then in step 6, apply the formula. So these are the 6 steps for calculating mean by using the assumed mean method. So let us try to understand with an example. Here you see this is a group data example. The data is presented in different class intervals. Just like here you see the first class interval is 50 to 54, then 45 to 49, 40 to 44, 35 to 39, 30 to 34 accordingly, and the lowest class is 10 to 14. And here you see the size of the class, that means 50 to 54 is 5. 45 to 49 is also again 5. So size of the class is here 5, and these are the frequencies 2, 3, 5, 7, 10, 6, 4, 2 and 1. Further, with this example, By using the steps, we can just calculate, just like the first column is the class interval from highest class to lowest class. You can also do it from the lowest to highest. So, here in this case it is in the descending order. 50 to 54 is the first class and 10 to 14 is the last class. Then midpoint. Midpoint of 50 to 54 is 52, 45 to 49 is 47, 40 to 44 is 42 accordingly. And here you see the third column is frequency, okay. And here you see the highest frequency is here 10. As per this step, this is your assumed class, because the class is having highest frequency will be the assumed class. So, 30 to 34 is the assumed class, and the midpoint of the assumed class will be the assumed mean. So, by taking the assumed mean, by using the assumed mean, you have to reach at the real mean. And further, to calculate the deviation, so what you have to calculate, the deviation of the assumed mean class is always 0, because the formula that I have already said, for calculating deviation, it is midpoint of the class minus assumed mean by divided with the size of the class. So, here you see midpoint of the class is 32. So, 32 minus assumed mean is also 32. 32 minus 32 is 0, divided by size of the class is 5, that is 0. Then accordingly, you have to use that formula. You have to find that deviation of this class 35 to 39 is plus 1, then plus 2, plus 3 and plus 4, and below that assumed mean class the deviations will be minus 1, minus 2, minus 3 and minus 4. And after getting the deviation, further what you have to do, you have to multiply frequency with the deviation, that is 2 into 4 is 8, 3 into 3 is 9, 5 into 2 is 10, then accordingly you have to find out all the deviations. And here in this case, you see 4 scores are positive and 4 scores are negative. You have to add all these 4 scores which is positive and all these negative scores which is negative, then you have to find out that what is the final summation of FD. So, here summation of FD is 10. If I will add 8, 9, 10 and 7, it is plus 34, and if I will add 6, 8, 6 and 4, it is minus 24. So, plus 34 minus 24 is equal to 10. So, summation of FD is 10 and total number of the frequencies or n is equal to 40. So, then after we have to use the formula. Formula is assumed mean is AM, that means assumed mean, plus summation of FD, summation of frequency into deviation divided by n, total number of the frequencies into size of the class or class interval. AM is 32, N is 40, Ci is 5 and summation of FD that already we have calculated, that is 10. So, just put these values with the formula, that is 32 plus 10 by 40 into 5. It will be 32 plus 1.25. If you will calculate it, 10 into 5 is 50 by 40 is 1.25. If you will add 32 with 1.25, it is 33.25. So, 33.25 is the mean. So, friends, in this case we calculate mean by using the assumed mean method, okay, and this is also called as sort method. Further, another concept is that is combined mean, okay. So, many a time if scores of many groups, that is different sections of a class are given, combined mean can be calculated for accurate measures of central tendency across the groups and for its proper interpretation. Let us try to understand with one example. Just like here, let the formula of the combined mean is, here you see in symbol we can say it is MCOM, that is the combined mean. Combined mean is equal to N1 into M1 plus N2 into M2 plus N3 into M3, and it will continue. That will depend upon how many groups are there, and it is divided by N1 plus N2 plus N3. It is the frequencies of the first group, total frequency or number of the second group and number of the third group. N1 is number of the first group, N2 is number of the second group, N3 is number of the third group. M1 is the mean score of the first group, M2 is mean score of the second group, and M3 is mean score of the third group. In this way, you can, by using this formula, you can calculate the combined mean. Here you see I have just taken one example. Let in class 9th 3 sections are there, section A, B and C, and mean scores are given of these 3 sections. Mean score of first section class 9th A is 82, class 9th B is 65, class 9th C is 70. The number of students, that is the N. Number of students in class 9 section A is 36, section B 33 and section C is 41. Then how to calculate it? The formula I have already said that here 3 groups are there. So that's why combined mean will be N1 into M1 plus N2 into M2 plus N3 into M3 divided by the number of 3 different groups, that is N1 plus N2 plus N3. Okay, already you have explained in our example. So you just put the values here. N1 is 36 and M1 is 82 into 36 into 82 plus N2 is 33 and M2 is 65. 33 into 65, accordingly 41 into 70. So you have to multiply these 3. Here you see I have multiplied it, and N1 plus N2 plus N3 is 36 plus 33 plus 41. Total is 110. So further what you can do, you just add these 3 values, that is 7967, and divide it with the total numbers, that is 110. And now you see the mean is 72.43. So scientifically you can calculate a combined mean. Combined mean cannot be calculated just by adding the 3 means and divide it by their total numbers, because the numbers in each case are different. Okay, so that's why you cannot just do it. You have to use the combined mean formula. Further, let us focus upon the use of the mean. First of all, the data is when the data is distributed symmetrically, that is distribution are not skewed, you can use mean. When we wish to know the center of gravity of a sample, we can use mean. When central tendency with greater stability is required or is wanted, you can use the mean. Other statistics, just like if you want to calculate the standard deviation and coefficient of correlation, you have to calculate mean first, then you have to reach at the standard deviation and coefficient of correlation by using the product moment method. Then group performance are to be calculated with accuracy and precision by using the mean, and comparing the intra and intergroup student is possible by using the mean score. So friends, just to recapitulate, today we discussed the first measures of central tendency, that is mean, the concept of mean. Then we also discussed that how to compute, how to calculate mean in ungrouped data, further in group data, when data is given in class interval orders, how to use in a long method, and in group data when data is given in class interval orders, how to calculate mean by using assumed mean method. And further, we have also discussed about calculation of mean by using combined mean method when many groups data is given. Okay, for better analysis and interpretation, I am hopeful that you must have understood and developed certain skills, and I request all of you to practice it by taking many examples. You can practice it and you can calculate mean, and you can use it in your school, in your class to whom you are teaching. For further queries, you can write to me niradhar@ignou.ac.in. You can make me a telephone call. My intercom is 2994. You can visit my Facebook account, my YouTube channel, that is Transforming Education, the name of my channel, and you can also visit my Twitter handle. You will find many such video lessons. Thank you.